welcome everyone to the Lincolnville Selectmen meeting. It is the 9th of August. Mike, would you care to read the quote?
I sure will, sure. To win it all, winners have to be obsessive about the fundamentals and doing the little things right. Dan Meyer said that.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to open the podium for any non-agenda related items for the Citizens Forum. Seeing no one rushing up to the podium, let's continue along to the administrator's report.
I don't have a thing.
Wow. Very good.
If anything pops into your mind, just jump in. Before we convened here, we are short a selectman who is hopefully having a great honeymoon, so he is excused. Let's move along to upcoming meetings and announcements.
All meetings are here in the town office unless announced otherwise. The Budget Committee is meeting tomorrow, Tuesday, August 10th, 6 p.m. The Planning Board meeting that's listed on the agenda has apparently been canceled in my absence. School Committee is scheduled to meet Monday, August 16th, 6 p.m. To be determined because I don't know where or how they're meeting right now. Broadband Committee meets Thursday, August 19th, 5 p.m. at the town office. Special town meeting hopefully will be scheduled for Monday, August 23rd, 6 p.m. And the Board of Selectmen to meet next in regular session on Monday, August 23rd, immediately following the special town meeting.
Great, thank you very much. And are there any upcoming community events anyone wishes to share? Yes?
This Saturday at 3 p.m. at the Fletcher Cemetery, there'll be a committal service for former Selectman Barrows, and that will be followed up by a reception at the Center Community Building immediately following.
Thank you. Any other events anyone wishes to share?
You have the wingdings, blueberry wingdings.
Oh, thank you. Yes. We had an audience member remind us that there's the blueberry wingding coming up. Let's move along to the meeting minutes from the 26th.
I move that the board approve the July 26, 2021 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? Thank you very much.
I'm abstaining because I wasn't here.
Okay. One abstention. And we have a community member that has expressed some interest in being on the Recreation Commission. And we have their community interest form here in your packet. And we have said individual here. Does anyone wish to say hi, ask any questions?
Yes, definitely.
Would you please come up to the podium, introduce yourself for folks watching at home and folks here.
Good evening, Douglas Grant, and I've filled out the community interest form for the, I think it's the Parks and Recreation Committee. And I've been a resident of Lincolnville since 2013. And we live over off of Route 1 in Duck Trap area.
So,
Yes.
thank you for your interest. It's good to meet you. Is this where we ask, do we call you the Flying Hawaiian? Or what do we?
Oh.
I saw that on a plate out, and my wife may have mentioned you.
Yes,
because
so
she
my
knows
official
you.
time, I'm an airline captain. So Captain
Yeah.
Douglas Grant, I fly at 3:30, work for Hawaiian Airlines.
Oh,
And,
perfect.
and we also have to thank him for being the individual who has been caring for our grass.
That was next on my question, on my
And-
comments, but I figured that one trumped that.
So
but-
thank you for
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
And thank you for your interest.
Yes,
Because that's a lot of mowing, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's you know, I fortunately live across the street, so I just drive the tractor over there and mow. I don't do it all at one time. And
Appreciate it, thanks.
Excellent. Any other questions?
No?
All right, thank you so much for coming in this evening.
Oh, no worries. Thank you.
Being able to put a face to a name. Would anyone care to make a motion?
I move to appoint Douglas Grant to the Recreation Commission as a regular member with a term expiring June 2024.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much, and again, thank you for
Yeah.
volunteering.
Do you know, not to interrupt and jump your meeting, do you know Cheryl? No. Cheryl's also on the Recreation Commission.
And thank you.
Because you guys now have a quorum, right?
Yeah. We did last
Yay!
week, yeah.
That's great. That is awesome.
And there's lots of work to do, so. And moving along, at our last meeting, the board decided to table this until Selectman Ray could return. And so I think I'll turn it
Oh,
over
sure,
to you.
yeah, okay. Well, first, I wanted to apologize for getting the draft of the RFP to you so late in the day, or early in the morning, whichever it was. And, but it's the same draft,
Mhm.
and what the Broadband Committee is asking is just the go-ahead from the Board of Selectmen to continue working on that with the town staff time. And so it's ready to bring back to the board for a final, okay, and or edit. But I'd also like to kind of bundle that request with a related request, and that is for the Broadband Committee to pursuant to final board approval, grant application with the Island Institute or other people. We've identified a couple possible funding sources, and we'd like to get started on that. And in order to pay for any RFP, any feasibility study that goes down the pike. And that's basically it. We just don't want to take any town staff time without, okay the board. Now, this is if you're reading the document,
Mhm.
what we did is took an earlier RFP that's gone out from the town.
Sure.
Okay, and got rid of the dates, put in some ideas for the scope of work and the general plan principles. I mean, they're rough, and I don't know to what extent they meet, let's say, town standards.
Mhm.
I'm not sure of that. And we're obviously, would welcome any board, input on any of those items or additional items. Well, is that like an input finger?
Yeah, there was just one thing, that I would like for the RFP to include
And what's that?
the technical information on the current infrastructure, specifically the type of fiber cable that
I
they're.
actually have that
Okay.
written in number 7, yes.
Oh,
And-
I made it number 7 too.
Oh, there you go. So, okay, well, here's what I would just real top of the head said, we'd like to have them do a full technical, whatever feasibility, do a full technical inventory of the infrastructure that we have, but also to relate that infrastructure to the underserved, the designation of underserved, as is used by various funding sources, like a clear correlation.
So,
I'm sorry.
no, I just want to thoroughly understand. So once what is identified, what we have, how it relates to the population of quote-unquote underserved and what that means.
Correct.
Okay.
Because from what we understand, various funding sources, possible funding sources, use kind of a tiered system where the unserved get priority, the underserved perhaps are number 2 in line. And we need to find out where we stand.
Mhm.
And they base that metric base. They base that on the technical, what's available to the people technically. And so we need to find out. And we'd like a clear correlation between the two, if they can identify that.
So as a subtext of that question, a estimate on take rates, is that the idea, is to look at the feasibility of the folks who have not opted in,
I'm not,
or,
lately, I'm not exactly sure how they would figure in take rates to that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's obviously, we're asking them to, give the projected take rates, sufficient take rates for,
Yeah.
a return.
yeah,
But how they do it underserved, I don't know.
yeah, okay, yeah,
Well, and also, this is, while it's presented as a whole, it's an incremental type of stuff. So we'll be gathering first the technical data, and from that, when we understand what it is that's here and what that can actually serve, from that then comes a financial estimate that'll be based on whatever the variables are that would go into extending the current infrastructure, replacing the infrastructure, with the goal of the 100 symmetrical to every home in mind that was set for the broadband committee, if that makes sense. So then, when you get to the economical side of that, then you can get into take rates and the feasibility studies that go along with it. But first, it's really important to know what's here technically, and if that equipment can even fulfill what we've all decided as being the minimum. I hope that made some sense.
Yeah, sure.
And again, it is incremental, it's gotta be multiple steps, because it's not something that can be done all in one study. Again, as one part will affect the next one, that will affect the next one.
mm-hmm. Okay,
So I do not know what's necessary, what kind of, if we need a general nodding of heads from the board that it's okay to use staff time to fine tune this document and then bring it back to this board, so before it goes out. Or there's a motion that's necessary, or I don't know.
I think it seems, as you said, you intend to put some more work into it, the
Yeah, yeah.
committee is going to put
Yeah.
some more work into
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And David, if I could just, correct me if I'm wrong, you probably would wanna have Sally put eyes on this before we got serious about sending this out.
We certainly could if we thought there was something wrinkly about it, for lack of a better word, that's a terrible adjective to use. Definitely before signing a contract, we'll want to have eyes to it, and maybe if we invest a little bit in eyes early on,
Mhm.
it makes it cheaper down the road before we sign a contract, so everybody knows what's coming. But we issue RFPs periodically without too much in-depth review.
If I would be an advocate for front-loading a little more of the work. I mean, it's just the long-term unforeseen consequences of starting this ball rolling. I wanna make sure that we're crossing all our Ts and dotting all of our Is, particularly if we're gonna be seeking grant monies
Sure.
or, utilizing any of the, ARP funds or anything like that, that we're really getting our ducks in a row, so to speak. So I don't think anything more than a general consensus to move ahead with this would be necessary at this point. Particularly if you're gonna add or change the scope of work that was submitted to the board.
Yeah, and as I said, I invite any input from this board too. So what we will do is set up a time to work with David or another staff member and to get the language suitable for going out and then bring it back.
Well, and if I could just, I have this written down so that it's concise, but I think, what we're really looking for is asking the Board of Selectmen to allow the town administrator to prepare the RFP with the advice from the LBBCs. And so we're just starting the ball rolling, then we will review the RFP again,
Right.
then it'll be sent, then there'll be 4 to 6 weeks for the consultants to reply, and then the fees, so it's just so right now what we're really looking to do, and forgive me, I'm not speaking for anyone, is to seeks David's help in drafting the formal RFP for our review then to be finally set in, so.
Yep.
Yeah,
If that makes sense?
That's what I, yeah, that's what
That's
I'm,
what you
yeah,
said.
that's what I was suggesting, yeah.
it does make sense. I'm trying to relate how this scope of work, I mean, obviously does in the big picture, but I'm just thinking in immediate terms, spelling out, that, we've got this very big goal of the, affordable broadband of 100 to all residents, all of that stuff. So that's a really big, long-term goal. But then this scope of work is the very necessary and immediate questions that need to be answered. And so I want to make sure that the consultants are really clear on what we're asking them, given that the long-term goal is this, but the immediate goal is what? Because these questions don't immediately answer or speak to that goal. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's the first step, but we're crawling, not running yet. And so I just want to make sure that we're not asking the consultants to give us an answer to the running question, when really what we want to know is the mechanics of how to crawl.
Sure.
Well, this is the most, I mean, to make an analogy, it's like turning the lights on. That's all we're doing. We're not
Right.
even crawling or walking. We're just trying to see the room that we're in at the moment.
Right,
And,
so,
and all these concerns, we'll be able to, again, this is just to get started. So we're not even, I mean, we're not responsible for anything. This isn't gonna go to anyone. This is just to let David start on an administrative level, working on it, which it will come back to us, and we will be able to address those. And even at that point, if you wanted to call in a consultant from a company like we've done in the broadband committee, or people from the broadband committee to further discuss, we can. So it's not like we're not doing anything that's going out to anyone.
no, I get that, but RFPs need to be very, very specific, and so I think we need to make sure to articulate somewhere in this RFP explicitly what the, in the broad, the sort of background information, and then, desired outcome. So the scope of the work is great, like that's all the mechanics of what we would expect this firm or individual to do. But, articulating a thesis statement, basically. This is what the town's goal for this RFP is, but, so that we can refer back to that. I mean,
I
it's
thought
not,
that's
it's,
what all this was, though, because it says identify existing high speed. All these things are the goal of the RFP.
those are the mechanics towards the end of reaching the goal, but I just wanna make sure that we're not making any assumptions.
I guess you've got to be way more specific. It's very generalized what you're talking about, so you've got to refer to something more specific.
But that's what I'm saying, like, there needs to be a statement of purpose for this, like, yes, the scope of the work, like, these are the boxes that you tick off in order.
Well, but what I'm saying is, in order to get to that, doesn't mean that we need to stop the process here. This is the beginning, so.
I'm not suggesting that, I'm saying that in order to hire a consultant, they need to know what they're being hired for just under a thesis statement, other than beyond the mechanical aspects that they'll be working through.
So that's a suggestion on what we should be adding to this when David starts
Yeah.
working on this?
Yes.
Okay.
A statement of purpose.
Yes.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I thought you were suggesting that we need to pull back and re-examine and rework it before we move forward in any step, which I didn't understand, so.
As a matter of fact, lately, it's got an asterisk by it. There,
Whoa.
so
Well then.
it'll get in there, yeah.
But, I just, having wrongly assumed that it was blatantly obvious what we were asking
Yeah.
for,
Mhm.
and then we went through several meetings with various entities where it's like, no, I mean, they just, in the past, it hasn't necessarily been as clear, and so again, going back to the front loading the work now,
Yeah.
you know, the clearer of intent we can make this document, I think the better product we'll get in the shorter the period of time, rather than us being like, no, that's not what we meant, or some variation therein. Does that make sense?
I
Makes sense to
definitely
me.
think a fine-tuned exact version of the RFP should be formulated before we submit it,
Super.
for sure.
Super.
Yes.
Yeah, and I totally trust the broadband committee and working with David to
Well,
nail
now,
that.
now that gets two asterisks.
keep layering it up. Okay, David, do you have any questions in terms of,
No, I don't
Tenor and
think
direction?
so. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that my knowledge of the internet workings is limited, and I'll lean heavily on the committee for that.
Gotcha.
My knowledge of RFP is pretty good, but my knowledge of internet hardware,
okay, great. I like it.
sketchy.
I like the,
So,
I know-
we will go ahead and schedule time with David.
The
Thank you.
Island Institute and may have also, like, I mean, maybe I'm just making this up, but I feel like they may have, like boilerplate
They
RFP
have
requests that we could also, you know,
Uh,
work with to compare and just as a further.
matter of
Yeah,
fact,
or-
Just an idea.
resources, maybe
Yeah.
there's other submissions that they have seen that they
Yeah.
might be willing to
Just as a
share.
comparison.
and no, we got a lot of sample RFPs from Island Institute.
Oh, great.
We just happened to paste into Lincolnville one
Yeah.
because it was Lincolnville.
Yeah.
And but we've got a bunch from them from various towns, and they vary widely. As a matter of fact, it's interesting reading. Some of them are prosaic, some of them are less, are just cut and dry
Mhm.
type of thing.
Well, and boy, as we heard at our last meeting, keeping it Lincolnville centric
Yeah.
seems more important than ever.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah.
Mike, anything else on that right now?
No, there's nothing about the RFP and
Okay.
the grant request. No, there's other updates, but that's
Yeah.
all
We'll get to
Just-
later.
I just had my finger in that, looking at it.
Yeah,
So we'll get to it.
we
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
So any other questions for Mike or comments on that right now? Super. All right, moving along. We have an application from a qualified catering organization for an event on the 14th at Stone Coast Road, which is also known as The Edge. Any questions on this application? And if there's no immediate questions for the board or for David, if anyone wishes to make a motion.
Yeah, I move that the board approve and sign the qualified catering organization application for catered function as submitted by 111 Main Catering for an event occurring at 24 Stone Coast Road on August 14th, 2021, between the hours of 3:30 p.m. and 10 p.m.
So moved,
Second.
seconded, any discussion?
The no representative here for that, David.
No.
Have we worked with
No.
111 Main Catering now?
I'd say as part of the discussion, it would be nice if just in general, and not that you or anyone has control over it, but it just
We
saying it
invite,
out there, people would be nice.
we
if
invite
could
any
come.
and all applicants to attend the meeting.
Yeah,
I think the,
Especially.
as a general rule, the catering world doesn't themselves, no offense, see the need because nobody else requires it, so, but we're not anybody else, so.
no, we are special.
We are.
Well, and I would also think just as someone who worked in that industry for a long time, submitting it 5 days before an event is a bit risky in the matter that maybe something doesn't go your way, so I just would suggest,
Agreed,
and
yeah.
that's not meant in a spiteful or threatening
No.
way, I think for your own business health, it's probably a good thing to come in, if you can.
Yeah.
Probably when we invite them to attend, we should just say, it is suggested that you attend.
Well, and that
Yeah.
approval is not a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would like to make several assumptions, and I think we really have no choice here, given that someone's gonna get married.
Right.
But that it is at a facility that we know is capable of handling such an event, so,
Especially
Hopefully.
180 people in Waldo County right now, just, you
I
know.
mean, hopefully we can hang our hats on that. I do appreciate the very clear diagram, you know, it is a reasonably professionally, you know, put
Yeah.
together application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
but-
agree.
But the comments are appreciated and agreed.
Yeah.
So is there any further discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? Thank you very much. And moving along, at our last meeting, we had a discussion regarding the positive outcomes regarding the state budgets, and the board's decision to use it to reduce the property tax commitment and the special town meeting warrant that is before you. And so I will entertain. Oh,
Just
yes.
one tidbit of information. I did, I think I mentioned it in the newsletter that it had been sent for review by council,
Yes,
which is what we do with all our town meeting warrants, and I got an email back saying it was fine.
great.
Good.
So, that being said, I will entertain a motion.
I move that the board approve and sign the special town meeting warrant for a town meeting to be held at 6 PM on Monday, August 23rd, 2021, at the Lincolnville Town Office.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much. And moving along, as everyone may be aware, we have an ever-evolving environment that this COVID situation is presenting us, and so David and I had a conversation, and obviously we are all wearing masks in the CDC, and the state of Maine, the governor has updated their recommendations. And so before you, you see a draft regarding revising our policies and procedures for interacting with the public and the like, and you'll notice that it gives a little bit more latitude in terms of needing to update the regulations so that if something changes rapidly, that it doesn't necessarily mean last minute convening of the select board in order to change it again.
Mhm.
That way we can be a little bit more dynamic in our response. Does anyone have any questions about this? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move the board approve the August 9th, 2021 update to the phased reopening of Lincolnville Town Office plan.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much. And David, I'd like, first, before I put you on, we're gonna have a little bit of, let's have the broadband update. Mike, you indicated
Oh,
that you
at
had
the
some additional.
Sure, at the local level, there are a couple, just to keep you guys informed, the broadband committee, we are meeting with the Northport Broadband Committee tomorrow at 5 PM. Just to, for a very informal, hey, where are you guys at, type of conversation. And, I'll be there at 5, and maybe some other members as well. I don't know, if it's, I'd say tune in from the leisure of your couch, but I don't know if it's broadcast or anything like that. And secondly, were you guys informed? No, you were. I'm sorry. Never mind. I watched the meeting last time, that the Southwest Waldo group stated that they chose not to work with Lincolnville at this present time.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I was at a meeting where they told me that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And Jordan, did you
And I
want?
actually don't have one. I feel terrible saying I wasn't in Iceland, but neither Josh nor I were able to attend the last meeting, which is the first time, and Stephen Coltai was there, but I don't have an update at the
Okay.
moment. And like you said, we'll be circling inward on ourselves more and more as this comes in, so that,
Sure.
so, yeah.
Okay, great. And just for clarification, we have a little bit of a off step between our notes and the agenda, so if it's okay, we'll do the Waldo County Commissioner update as number 13. So I'd like to roll right into Selectmen updates, and then we'll talk about news from Waldo County.
That sounds good.
Sound good?
Mhm.
Okay. Karen, do you have an update for us?
I don't have anything to say. I know that doesn't sound right. No, we have some committee meetings coming up for Midco Solid Waste Corporation.
Yeah.
But no,
Okay,
I have nothing.
great.
No, I don't, no.
Okay, I don't have anything, Jordan?
Now
All right, that was quick.
I'm speechless.
Well, moving right along, David, I would like to throw the conversation from our county commissioners first to you for an introduction and then the board discussion.
Yeah, well, included in your packet is an email that was sent to all the town offices in Waldo County from the commissioners, and I should say, and to City Hall, reference to Belfast, saying that they had determined to allot, as it says, allot $20,000 to each community for seed money, potentially for broadband expansion within the county. Since that email, since that email came out, they issued another more explanatory note saying that they were going to not require communities to come to them to ask for the money. They were going to just send you it. And then today, received another letter from the county commissioner saying that it was their hope that the money would be used for broadband, but it was not their requirement that it be used for broadband expansion. Apparently, some communities may have objected to being limited in what they could utilize that for. They said we didn't have to do anything. They would be mailing us a check for $20,000 before the end of the month, or by the end of the month. I do have some concerns, not so much for Lincolnville as I do for the county. This is all monies that they've received from the American Rescue Recovery Program Act, whatever it is. And with any money that comes from Washington comes usually strings and justification, where everything I've read thus far has been, when we send the town their allocation, you'll need to be able to explain to us at some point how you spent that money and how it met with our requirements. And just the general letter saying, here's $20,000 that we hope you're gonna use for broadband expansion, means, I presume, that you could use it for something else, but is then the county gonna get themselves in trouble by saying, yeah, here it is, which really isn't or won't be our worry, but I think we ought to do ourselves in the county a favor by saying, when this money comes, or when we get this money, we'll utilize it for purposes that are identified within the recovery program.
Yeah, no, I was just asking, I haven't seen the letter, I was just wondering, the county didn't say anything to the extent of, you can use this money for whatever, as long as it's within the confines
Yeah.
of recommendations from the federal government? Nothing like that?
No, the most, and I apologize for not bringing them, but I know we don't really like handouts, and I intended to put it in your next packet. It literally says, and we hope that you'll utilize
Well, it
this.
seems the money is intended
Yes.
for broadband. And I know in reading a lot of it that that is a strong part of the reason why this money's coming down, so.
Yeah.
So, and it, well,
Yeah,
it works in our
and-
favor to use it what it was intended for in the first place.
Absolutely,
coincidentally.
and it's, at this point, not that I don't trust what the Water County Commissioners say, but it's seed money, or it's a promissory note at this point, and until you've got money in hand, don't go spending it, I guess would be my advice. And the other, thing is, the board had written a letter to Waldo County saying we'd like to help and participate in any discussions you'd have. And the county commissioners are going to have a meeting tomorrow at 10 to have discussions about how they intend to have discussions about how they go about formulating how they're gonna spend the rest of the money.
Oh, my.
How,
A preliminary
yeah.
meeting or discussion, I guess.
How much is left? They said
They got,
9% is going to the towns for, in their $20,000 checks, right?
they got,
And then they've got a couple big projects.
they got a little $7.7 million,
Right,
but
yeah.
it's coming in two increments, my understanding. I'm not privy to the county's
Yeah.
finances, but my understanding is it was coming in two separate installments, one this year, which they should have received, and one next year. They certainly have some ideas about how they are looking to spend the funds. I'm certain that they'll have to, justify that what they'd like to spend the money on is within the eligible expenses. And, yeah, I mean, they talk about Waldo County Garden Project at 1.6 million, and another for boilers where they,
Yeah.
and I don't, the final guidance on any monies that we'll receive hasn't been issued as yet. So, I think the slow, steady, it consistently talks about broadband, consistently talks about water and sewer infrastructure, it consistently talks about a couple other things. And then the other, there's still a little bit nebulous, for lack of a better word. And until there is specific guidance, I'd accept the money on behalf of the town and put it in an account and track it and everything else, but I wouldn't spend a nickel.
Yeah.
Because if you expend it on something that it's not allowed, when and if you have to go back and tell them how you spent the money, if you haven't followed the program, they're gonna look back to you to pay them back. And, let's try to avoid that scenario,
Yeah.
would be my best advice.
Yeah, this letter is a little dismaying in the amount of chickens that have been counted already before they patched.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all reasonable, long-range plans for the county, improving the communications center. Well, that obviously benefits all of us. And my instincts would tell me that they've been looking to try to figure out a way to finance that project
Yeah.
for a period of time,
Yes.
and now this opportunity has presented itself, that everybody may benefit from, and I think they wanna lay out, don't, in a nice way, don't come to us and ask us for $7.5 million,
Sure,
because we are already planning on how they're spending it.
sure, yep. Okay, anything else on that? Karen, you look thoughtful.
Not on that.
Okay.
Just something else completely different,
Unrelated to.
unrelated.
Okay,
Yeah, unrelated.
all right, let's move along to the treasurer and payroll warrants.
I move the board approve the treasurer's and payroll warrants.
Second?
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much. And before a final motion, does the board have any other business, questions,
comments.
Yes.
I know it wasn't on the agenda, but we did have a report in our packets on the Lakes and Ponds Committee meeting.
Yep.
And there was a comment, a recommendation from our inland harbor master for Lincolnville, and I'm wondering if we should reach out to him for clarification and/or maybe we should sit with him.
It's a safety thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wanna know, what does he mean by guidelines more proactive? His job description's pretty straightforward, and if it needs to be changed, I think we need to have a conversation with him.
Yep.
Or does he just need our blessing? I mean,
Yeah, it would be nice to,
Yeah.
have you had any direct communication with him regarding this?
I have not regarding this. The last communication I had with Justin, he was having, a health issue and
Yeah.
just wanted to keep me in the loop that he'd do the best he could being proactive, but
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Can
I
be more
highlighted
reactive.
that
Yeah.
also. It kind of stuck out saying,
Yeah.
it'd be nice if we can help in some way to make,
Absolutely.
he does such an amazing job that I want to make sure that we're not unintentionally encumbering his ability to do his
Absolutely,
job.
and I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for pointing that out, Karen.
should I request that, he comes once a year?
Yep.
You want me to
Well, I just wondered
try to
if
get
he
him
needs-
to
I just wondered if he needs follow-up, or does he need?
Or
to-
just a communication from him too, if,
Yeah.
if he feels like an email could be adequate and that he doesn't necessarily need to be present so that we could have a discussion, like if there's some action that the board needs to
Yep.
take as a result, but I don't necessarily think that he has to come in, I know
I don't-
he's busy.
I don't either.
So,
I don't either, maybe an email, like you said.
Yeah.
whatever.
and then,
Just-
depending on where depending on what it,
I look at that and I'm like, oh my God, we haven't given him the tools to do his job.
yeah, I know,
And
yeah.
because-
Yeah, I immediately thought the same thing. I thought, oh man, I don't want us to be making things harder on him
Yeah.
somehow, so. 'Cause he's a great resource.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, I will entertain a final motion.
I move that we adjourn.
So moved,
Second.
seconded. Any discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. Neat and tidy.
So Douglas, you got to sit through a
Not the
relatively
not the
short meeting.
shortest, but
I'm going.
Oh, it keeps going, no.
May I borrow your pen?
start at this end.
I know.
most people sneak out after their particular point of